Hey YouTube friends, welcome back to the shop. Thanks for joining in. Today we got in our jack plate from Atlas. It's a 6-inch, it's a micro. It's good up for a 115 and up to 450 pounds. We're gonna show you how we're gonna measure the transom, the height, and the width in 4 different places to get the center point. And we'll put our template on here to make sure our jack plate is exactly where it needs to be. It won't be tilted. This is a flats bottom boat. The prismatic coefficient of this boat is not so bad because it's a flat. If you get into a monohull boat like that Shearwater over there, where you have a V bottom, the prismatic coefficient is very bad. So if you have a tilted motor, it's going to see it a lot more on this boat at the list versus more of a flat bottom, where the bottom of the boat is more flat in the water. If you come around, you can look. We've got our hardware, our 3-inch stainless steel with brass nuts, which is really good because they won't galled up on you. This is from Bob's Machine Shop. Call those guys if you ever need any hardware. They have the best prices, and you can get them in fine thread if you want, right here, or you can get it in a coarse thread right here if you want, however you choose. I like the fine thread, but I will use a coarse, it doesn't matter. We've got our transom backer supports in. If you come around, we're gonna use their wiring harness, which is very nice. You have your up and down relays, you got your overload protection circuit. Everything is very nicely done. And they have a switch here for up and down, but we're gonna use a finger paddle switch that goes underneath the steering wheel to replace this with right here. Makes it a little bit more easier when you're driving. So if you come along, I'll show you the motor we got over here that's getting ready to go on. This is our 2006 Mercury. It's dirty, I need to clean it up. It's a 115. It has about 7 hours on it. Got it in a auction here locally in Texas. We've got all the cables for it, the wiring harnesses, the gauges, everything over there in the boat. And we've been waiting on that jack plate to show up. Now that we got the jack plate, we can mount it and mount this motor. And of course that is the wrong prop, but we'll put the right 4-blade on there. If you happen to have one of these Cowlin, this is a 2006 motor. If you happen to have one of these Cowlins right here, contact me. I need one. This one took a little damage when we moved it. See how it got hit. I need another Cowlin if you've got one. But anyhow, let's go ahead. We got to put our floor drains in. I got the hoses for that. And then we'll measure, and I'll show you how we're going to drill the holes for the jack plate. We'll silicone it all up. We'll set the jack plate, and then we'll hang the motor. Alrighty, well, let's get started. All right, so we moved shops probably a year ago, and I have a BIA bracket. That's your standard bolt pattern. Your 12 7/8 by 9 and I think 5/8. It's missing, so what I had to do is I had to make me one out of cardboard. I know it's hood, but it'll work. And what this stuff is here is grease. And the reason I put grease on this cardboard is I smeared grease on here and around here and around here and around here, and then I laid my cardboard over upside down flat, and I clamped it here and here and ran my fingers over it. And what that did is that marked where my holes were for me, pretty much. Then I come back with my bolts, okay, and I know where they're gonna go. Get it fit there, there, and that'll drop right in. All right, so that's my temporary bracket, my BIA bracket. I don't know where my other one's at. It's gonna involve a lot more measuring to get this square, plumb, level, straight. So, but we'll get it. We'll make it work. That's one thing you can do if you don't have one of them brackets. You can make one out of cardboard. It just takes a little bit more measuring. And once you get it where you need it to be, tape it down real nice so it won't move. And you can drill your holes through. One thing you got to watch is your angle. This transom has a rake on it, probably, I don't know what it is, 12, 14%. Degrees, excuse me. So bear in mind when you drill your holes. I'll show you a trick that I used to do that with if you don't have a bracket. All right, guys, so what I've done is I have come in here and I found the center between here and here. Got my center point on top and bottom. These may have a little taper to them, so you got to know where your center is between the top part and the bottom in order to get this thing parallel to the sides of the boat. The other thing is you can take a framing level and you go between the middle of your bolt holes. I know you can't see this dart, but that's dead on the bubble. Okay, right there. All right, so the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna come in here in our holes, and if you wanna measure to check yourself, and I know all these bolts are not built the same, they're not exactly symmetrical, but you can get real close. That's 11, right at 11 and a quarter on that hole there from that corner, and same thing there, 11 and a quarter there also. So that's really, really, really close. So you want to measure a hole there. That's 11 and 3/16. And there's 11 and then 11 and a quarter, 11 3/16. I mean, the 16th difference, guys. All right, so what I do is it takes a 1/2 inch hole, because these are 1/2 inch bolts we're drilling with. I take a little 1/8 inch drill bit. And I carefully come in here and I make a little pilot hole. I just start right in the center. Okay. A little pilot there. Same thing on this hole. These holes, you can be really close and you'll have enough wiggle room, but you don't want to be an 1/8 inch off or anything like that. All right, so now I got my holes marked. I'm gonna go ahead and take this bracket off, my template. Okay, get all this out of the way. This was for my side to side. And there we go. We perfectly got our holes. Now, one thing you can do in order to drill this exactly the same angle as the transom, excuse me, is you can take a square framing triangle and you can run him like so on your drill until you poke through, and that's going to give you your exact angle. You see how I back out a little bit? That's going to give you your exact angle of your transom. Let's give it a shot. Okay, same thing here. Put your triangle, let it rest on the bottom of your drill, get your hole, and make sure there's no and I'm going to do that on these other two holes. If you don't have a BIA bracket that has guides, that is one trick you can do to make sure you get that angle exactly right when you drill them holes, just like that. You gotta hold your drill at the exact angle. You won't be too high, you won't be too low, you'll be exactly where it needs to be. All right, so I'm gonna drill these other 4 holes, and I'm gonna show you how we're gonna mount the jack plate. All right, guys, that's our 4 1/2 inch holes, and that turned out really good, really good. All right, guys, so I went ahead and mounted it. I didn't put any 5200 anything yet. This is just a dry mock-up. I did find out that my bolts, they're about a 1/2 inch too short. The threads are barely touching the Teflon and the lock nut. So I'm gonna get a 1/2 inch longer bolt tomorrow. And but the good thing is, if you look, we are, let's see, where's he at? There he is. We are right in between the bubbles, guys, right where we need to be. So good fit, good mount up. It all turned out real well. So I'm gonna get the correct bolts tomorrow at the bolt shop, and we'll do the 5200 and bolt them down. We'll torque them down like 75 foot-pounds, I believe. And that is all there is to it, installing that baby. It turned out real well, easy to peasy. So, all right, guys, and we'll hang the motor on it tomorrow. All right, so we're back. We went to the bolt store and got a 1/2 inch by 4. The 1/2 inch by 3.5 that I had were a little bit too short. They weren't allowing the stud to stick past the nut. These are 1/2 inch by 4s here, and this was a 1/2 inch by 3.5. As you can see, the nut, the bolt wasn't quite coming through for my likings. All right, so we're going to take these 3.5s out, take the jack plate off the boat, and sorry about the focus, I don't know what's going on. And we're going to put 5200 in the holes and around where the bolts go through, and I'll show you how we'll do that. All right, so the next thing we're going to do is take a brush, and we're going to smear the 5200 in these holes. Y'all know how much I love this stuff. Squeeze some out, roll it around there, and run that in and out of that hole in there real good. And the reason I'm doing this is because cover that bare wood inside this transom. We don't want this stuff getting wet for no reason. This is one way to coat them holes real good. That way you get your wood completely covered. Go from, yeah. Yeah, those are really good. Okay, so we've done that. Now, I'm gonna put this somewhere, we'll make a mess. So the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna go around these holes here, just like this, with a dab of sealant. Okay, same here. Put a pretty good little bit. And on the back of the transom, same thing. I know you can't see it, but I'm doing what I did on the front. All right, guys, so that's that. Now, the next deal we're gonna do, try to find my lid. I don't know where I put it at. Oh, there he is. All right, so our sealant is on. We'll go ahead and stab our bolts in. These are our new 4-inch bolts. Okay, we're gonna run him through that. Oh yeah, I can feel it, nice and gummy. Okay, same thing there. Same here on the bottom. Okay, now we got that done. Now we can turn around and put the jack plate back in place. And with our hardware here, we'll bolt it down. All right, I don't know how much of this you're gonna be able to see, because I'm gonna be blocking most of it, but I'm gonna get it here, and I'm gonna hang this jack plate back. All right, here we go. Let's see, this away. Middle two holes. Okay, put that one through. Put our flat washer. A lock washer. You're probably questioning, why are you using a lock washer with a self-locking nut? Just peace of mind. A little extra don't hurt. That one's on. Let's do the same thing over here. We'll stack a flat washer, a lock washer, and a brass self-locking nut. Okay, the top's done. We're going to do the same thing down here on the bottom. There we go. Another lock nut. All right. Let's do this side here. Okay, let's get an impact and some wrenches, and we're going to tighten this guy up. All right, we're going to tighten the bolts up. First thing we're going to do is check, make sure our bolt's still level, still good and level. Okay, so we're going to use a 1/2-inch impact gun. Okay. And we're going to go ahead and try to tighten these up. I'm going to try to stay out of the view here. I didn't run it all the way up, and I'll show you why. Okay. Let's make sure. I see a little there he goes. Perfect. All right, guys. Go ahead and finish tightening these bolts down. All right. This impact gun puts out some pretty big torque, and so I'm not killing it. I'm gonna come back and hand torque them to about 75 foot-pounds when I'm done. All right, there's all there is to it. Now, like I said, I'm gonna get my torque wrench and I'm gonna torque these at 75 foot-pounds, and that baby doll is installed. All right, well, that didn't hurt too bad. We got all our bolts in. Everything looks good. We got plenty of clearance between here and this bolt here. About a 1/2-inch gap for the slide to go up and down. Won't hit. Looks good, guys. It's installed. 5200s on it. Got a little bit leaking out on the bottom. We're gonna wipe that off. So let's move on to hanging this motor next. We're gonna get this boat moved, and we'll use this engine or this car lift. We'll hang that motor right there. All right, so we got the motor hanging, all's good. We're gonna back this boat up to where the jack plate reaches and touches in here. We're gonna measure a little bit. We need to make sure our bottom cavitation plate is flush, level, the bottom of the boat. If it's a little bit below it, I'm perfectly fine with that because we have a jack plate. We can raise this motor up. That's the whole purpose behind it. If it looks sketchy, nah, it works pretty good. Hangs these motors real well. And all right, so let's back this boat up and we'll bolt this motor down. We'll be done. All right, so we got the motor bolted, top and the bottom. I use a little shorter bolt on the bottom because there's a little interference right there. But anyhow, it is mounted. I got some temporary power hooked up to it. If you're wondering what all this mess is, it was just to cycle the jack plate and to run the tilt and trim. So we did good, guys. With the motor all the way down, motor about level on tilt, put a flat frame and ruler level here, and we're about a 1/2 inch below. The cavitation plate is about a 1/2 inch below the tunnel, which is great. So I can live with that. Anyhow, so while I got the battery on, we can raise this jack plate up. You can see it. So yeah, man. So that raises it up quite a bit. And our tilt and trim, of course, it works now. All right, so we're getting there, guys. Like I said, that motor, it's up there now. It's shoot, the cavitation plates are good. 5 inches above the tunnel. And it looks like the lower unit is about 2 inches above the bottom of the boat. Maybe 3 inches of the skag is below the bottom of the boat. So she ought to be set pretty good. All right, the last thing we're gonna do in this video is we're gonna connect our floor drains, which goes right through there, and that's gonna be this big fitting. It's 1.5 inches. We're gonna use some braided hose, and it's gonna drain from there towards the back to the scuppers that we previously installed. All right, so we have a hole here, but when we glass the floor in, we put another layer of 1.5 ounce mat over the drain, just so the floor would look nice. So we're gonna drill that out, and then we're gonna take and put our fitting down in there. All right, and then we'll put the hose in between them. That's gonna be it. And I'll show you how we're gonna band that together with these stainless steel bands that I have. And I'll show you the tool, how that works. Works really good. All right, so I'm gonna use this little Puma, this little 90-degree air grinder, and it has a CNC bit on it. I'm gonna go from the back side. I'm gonna cut out that fiberglass, and you'll see that hole open up. You get the leaking air hose. I'm gonna clean it up some more, but you get the idea, and we'll clean it up to where this fitting here will drop down in there. All right. All right, so we got our hole cut out real well. The bottom of this through hole fitting, I put a flat edge on it so it'll sit close to the floor. Of course, we're gonna put 5200 on all this exposed wood, and back side of this flange and the back side of this nut. Back side of this flange, back side of that nut, we'll put 5200. So I'm just gonna show you a dry fit. If he fits in there, man, that looks good. And on the inside, that's how it looks there. It pokes through. And I know it's off a little bit. I'm just gonna put that nut on there to straighten up. But man, it's a good angle from there to the scupper to there, and it's gonna make for a good drop. All right, let's put the 5200 on it and put the fitting in, and then we'll cut the hose. All right, so we got the 5200 on our fitting real well. We got our hole covered. Let's go ahead and slip it in. Make the flat side go down. Let's see. There it goes. And just like that. Good fit. I feel that sealant bedding in. We can clean this off with a little bit of alcohol. So if you get any of those fittings, don't worry about it. All right, so we're gonna put some on the back of this flange nut, and we're gonna thread it up. All right, so what I did was I measured from flange to flange, from this flange on this fitting here Okay, I left about 1/4 of an inch. And on the scupper, I left about 1/4 of an inch on this flange back here. So my overall came 20 1/2. One way to cut this big heavy hose is if you got some of these PVC pipe cutters, works really good. Cuts a good, clean, square edge for you. You may have to take 2 cuts at it, but that's about all it takes. And that's it, guys. So look at there. Good, clean, square edge. All right, so what we're gonna do is we're gonna put this on there, and I left it a little short so I can stretch it. So it'll be nice and tight and won't have no saggage in it. All right, so let's see if we can get this to fit on real quick. You couldn't see that, but anyway. That's connected from the front, and it has a downhill slope to the back. And it has a little kink in it. That'll come out, it's just where the hose is. But it is on a downhill run. Now I'm gonna put these band clamps on here. And here, I'm gonna show you how to do that. All right, so what I'm gonna use instead of like a traditional hose clamp or a zip tie, are these stainless steel high temperature zip ties. They work like a nylon one. You can run it through and it pokes out the other side. And then what you do is you have this special tool that when you ratchet it, it shrinks that zip tie, and then you hold it and you cut it off. Makes for a real good clean finish, and it has a real good clamping power. Now don't get it too tight on this hose because you don't want to cut through your hose. I apologize, I can't show you doing it. It's so tight in here, but I'll show you what it looks like when it gets done. All right, guys, so I went ahead and crimped them, put the bands on. You see, there's one on the front. There's another on the back, and it has pulled on that hose pretty good. So you can put 2 on there if you want to. I just put 1. I don't want to crush that hose anymore, but that's all there is to it, guys. So you have the scupper, and then you got your floor drain right here. And man, I tell you what, that works really good. So that was a good clean job on that right there. Well, I hope you enjoyed this video. It's a long one. We did a lot to the boat, and the next thing we're gonna do is we're gonna get the motor rigged out and try to get it started up. It's been sitting a while, so we'll see how that turns out. Please like and subscribe if you like my videos. Give me a thumbs up, hit that check mark. That way YouTube and the algorithm stuff, all that works out for us. Please leave a comment. I answer to most every comment that I get, and I appreciate you watching. Hopefully you learned something. If you have any questions, always ask. Thank you, and have a great day.